what's up, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happen? You guys know this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, sponsored by Dark Fusion Systems, the most kick-ass computers for your creative mind. If you need an experience, ask Ryan Curry from Fit for a King about it. Oh yeah, you can get $100 off your entire order using the code CPPOD at checkout at darkfusionsystem.com. Link description of the podcast. Thank you guys. Now is time to jump into this episode with the Dollyrots. Their brand new album, Night Owls, came out on October 13th. We talk a little bit about it, the song Irish Goodbye specifically, one that I really like, and how this married couple created this whole entire band and took the most calculated risks possible to make their dreams come true. It's a great episode. You're not going to miss out on it. Let's have some fun. Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast, while scouring the internet and scouring the latest releases coming out for the month of October from Loudwire, I land on this band that was both on that list and in my email as well, with a rock pop style, with their brand new album, Night Owls, which came out on October 13th. I thought, this is interesting. Let's get to know more about the band. Let's look into it. And we have the band right here, this lovely couple right next to me on screen, and we're ready to talk all about whatever the heck comes up. So please welcome Kelly and Lewis from the band, the Dollyrots of the podcast.
What's up?
Kelly,
Thank
Lewis,
you for having us.
welcome.
We are here.
Yes, you are both here, and it is fantastic to have you both. And I have had a number of married couples that have been in bands in the podcast before, but this is the first time I've had one where it's like, when it comes to basically the entire band, the entire creative force behind it, it's just you two. So that is something I really wasn't expecting, but I'm very curious about. So when it comes to the dynamic, especially working together in a band and being married at the same time, what is that dynamic like for everyone else that's in bands and also in relationships at the same time as well?
Well, we were together before the band was a thing.
Yeah. So I've known her since like 8th grade.
Yeah.
So I was like 12. And so we ended up getting together at the end of high school. And I taught her how to play guitar when we were like 16 or 17. But then we didn't do music. Like we never had plans to be in a band together. So
the end of college, a friend was like, hey, let's start a band just for fun.
Yeah.
And so he was going to, he played guitar. That guy played bass. There was a drummer. And I was like, could I be in the band? Because I know how this usually turns out, And they're like, we'd love to have a chick in the band. And so that's how I got into the band.
Yeah, she was
and
just
I just played guitar in the back and hid.
And so eventually our bassist quit because he couldn't like go to practice because he had a job working like the late shift at a porn shop. And so like,
and he loved that job.
He
just watched the History Channel all night.
Yeah,
like
he was just like the clerk at the front desk, but
yeah.
he was awesome. He was brilliant. We still play some of the songs we wrote together.
Yeah.
But anyway, he couldn't do it. And so she decided to switch over to bass.
And then I had to start singing all the songs.
And then she had to start singing all the songs. Yeah. So she kind of just like
it's an accident.
Stumbled her way into being the lead singer and bassist.
Still stumbling.
Going from literally just like, can I be in the band? Hell yeah. To just in the back, just kind of out of sight, just playing, to now being up front, being the vocal lead behind everything, being the, that thing that, especially when it comes to a lot of bands that we listen to, when it comes to the vocals, we connect with that so heavily, with that style, with that sound, and how everything meshes together because it's the human element behind it. So now that, you're up front, you're the force behind it, you kind of go from just this, like, it's like a blooming flower that just took its time to get to the front of the stage.
Yeah. I like to think of it that way. That's nice.
Like a wildflower.
Yeah.
But she's good at it. And I don't think it was anything that she ever expected to do. Like,
no.
But it is what we do. It's like it's our life's work, man.
Yeah.
So,
we had plans to keep going to school. I was gonna go to grad school. He was going to med school, and we were like, we're just gonna take 1 year off and do the band. We'll move to California.
Famous last words.
And then just, things started happening, and we were like, well, let's do one more album. It's like one more album. All
of a sudden we're on
here we are.
album 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technically like 11, but
yeah.
Technically like 11, but more like 8 in terms of, if it depends on how you're counting at home. If you're counting, just like the standard way we're counting 8. But if we're counting just, we want to be super fan about it, we got to count those extra 3. So we got to go 11.
Yeah, it is really like there's an acoustic album, there's a live album, there's like
a Christmas album.
There's like,
there's the B-sides and rarities album.
There's the
12.
B-sides album. Yeah. So I mean, we put
it
out
doesn't
a lot
count
of
all the
music.
7 inches and crap either.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Just a lot of music coming from you both. And again, it's kind of cool to see that, you know, as you kind of just grew up together, you got together, we're in a band together, and then moved out to California with still having plans and ideas to go and do something else, but then just letting life happen, enjoying what you were doing, enjoying the time you're spending together, enjoying being in this band, and continuing on with it. It makes sense where, you know, you're pushing back. Maybe we'll do one more, because if you're enjoying it so much and it's still being fruitful for the both of you, why lose out on that? Why skip out on that to try and go after something that you thought you wanted before you experienced all this?
Yeah. I think like sometimes we never really believed in the philosophy of like, oh, let's go like establish our like world A life and go out and do whatever, and then do the stuff that we really want to do after we retire.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, dude,
never gonna happen.
I want to be like napping when I'm older. I don't need to be like
napping
chasing my musical like ambition, you know. So we just and plus we got each other, so it makes it easier.
See, I can resonate with that, especially not the having somebody there that makes it easier, but just the side of you have these different ambitions instead of having to focus in on this idea of like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then when I have my free time and be able to retire, now I can go and do that. Because if you're, especially the way that today's day and age is going, anyone that's, you know, in their 20s and 30s right now, once you get to that point of what we think is retirement, we're still probably gonna have to work another 10, 15 years just to
I don't think any of us are retired.
Yeah. And by the time it's all said and done and over, like I'm gonna end up looking back at it and thinking, you know, if I wasn't doing stuff like this, having a podcast, talking to you right now, at my age of 28, I'd be like, I would regret it every step of the way. Now I have the time and the energy to do this. I have all the time to lead up to it. The last thing I want to do is look back in life and say I played it too safe and then regret the things I didn't do.
Yeah, 1,000%.
We are definitely calculated risk takers, and we have just routinely done, like, taken the option that's most scary, that has the most benefit.
High risk, high reward. But at the same time, you know, you put yourself in a position to not really have a choice. You know, it's like
we say yes to things we're not prepared for, and then you have to prepare. And somehow, usually by the seat of our pants, we get through the situation and we learn and we grow. And then the next time we can do something even harder. And, and I'm always scared every time we do it. But we still do it.
All right. So now you've piqued my curiosity a little bit. So like, what are some of the things that have happened in life where you take those calculated high risk, high reward situations and just went with them, you know, gung ho? Do we have a plan? No, we're going to make the plan as we go along. Like, what are some of the instances in life that have happened to you that just stick out in that moment where it's helped continue to grow you to where you are today, continue to grow your music, and continue to grow your relationship at the same time?
I mean, the first one was moving to Los Angeles. We had like $1,800. We had just gotten married.
Yeah, no,
and that was it.
I think we had like $700. I mean, it was literally like us, our guitars, and our pets, and we just
drove to LA.
We drove to LA. We didn't know anyone. We knew like one friend from high school. One
guy from high school.
He let us like crash on his floor for like a month in his studio apartment, and then we just hustled.
And then, I mean, the second biggest risk, aside from performance stuff, because I think every performance is a risk, and sometimes you get asked to play like a big show and that's a risk. But aside from those things, like the big decisions, after our first album, it came out on a Lookout subsidiary. It's called Panic Button. And then Lookout folded. And so we didn't have a record label, but we had this amazing album pretty much written. And we decided to just max out our credit cards and go into debt, go into studio and record our album Because I'm Awesome on our own, in the hopes that someone would want it and help us put it out. And then that summer we went to Warped Tour and I handed it to Joan Jett. And like a month later, Blackheart Records was like, hey, we really want to put this album out. And so that was a big risk for us.
Yeah. But you know, I mean, if you believe in what you're doing, I know it's kind of hokey to put it that way, but it's kind of like, again, we had no choice. It's like,
we had to make it work.
We spent like $20,000 recording this record, like of like our own money, and then like credit cards and whatever. And
we had to get loans from our parents to pay back.
It was like, our parents never gave us anything, you know, like
that one thing.
Like, wait, you're paying me back, right?
Yeah.
And so you just kind of you cannot fail at that point.
Yeah.
Because
no option.
Done. you have to make sure it comes out in some way. So, you know,
So then we quit our jobs and we hit the road.
yeah,
And
without really having a fallback plan, you know, it was just kind of like, let's book our own tours and go out there and, you know, you make your $50 a night and sleep on, you know, the sound guy's floor.
Happen all the time.
And yeah, that's another thing, that we still have fans from that time that have come back to the shows again and again. I mean, I'm talking like starting 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So it's pretty cool.
That is something that's really cool. And it makes a lot of sense in terms of some of the other stories I've heard from other musicians, not only on the podcast, but just in general stories as well, where when you have an idea and you have something you're really behind, you're going to put yourself in a position where you're going to force yourself to have to succeed, force yourself to have to hustle. Reminds me of the story, it was like with Travis Barker, with getting every single, like tattooing his body up as much as possible, because the way that Travis Barker looks, what like corporate world environment or what corporate job would ever take him seriously? The only place that's really going to take him seriously are two places. One, the tattoo world, and music. And he's all into music, and look at where he's at right now. I have other friends that have done something similar that you did, where they just showed up at like the last Warped Tour. They just showed up and started playing. Like they just went on one of the stages and started playing. Yeah. And in the end of it, they end up getting invited on the tour after a week because they're just drawing a crowd and they liked it so much. But the fact that you ever had like this brand new album, you put so much time and effort into it, your label folded, you don't know what to do with it, and you're going to make sure it works, and you have a chance to, you literally handed this thing to Joan Jett.
And I was terrified. It was like I was standing there shaking, and she came down off the stage, and it was like my feet started walking and my brain is saying, stop, 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 stop. But my feet are going. And all of a sudden I'm like right in front of her. And I was like, hey, I'm Kelly. I'm in this band, the Dollyrots. And and she's like, I love your band. I keep watching you guys when I ride my bike around. She's like, I've been watching you all summer. I love your band. I was like, oh my God. And then I'm like, be cool, be cool, be cool. I was like, well, we recorded this album, but you know, our label's gone and we didn't know if Blackheart might want to put it out. She's like, yeah, I'll take a listen, you know, for sure. And I was like, she's never going to listen, but that was cool. Yeah. I was like, I know it's just going to end up in a pile in the bus and that's okay. But like, I know that she liked me and I was happy with that. Like, that was a great moment in my life. But then, you know, something bloomed out of it. So.
Well, if that aspect too, there's plenty of times where, you know, you think, oh, this person, even if I give them and they have a conversation, I give them this album, I give them this song, I tell them to listen to it, they're never going to listen to it. It's, you know, the answer is going to be no if you never try, if you never even ask them about it. But
what's the worst thing that's going to happen?
Yeah, the best thing that can happen is they give you a yes. The second best thing that can happen is give you a no. Why is that second best thing happen? Because now you have an answer. You know for sure. You're not waiting in limbo for the possibility. But still, the fact that Joan Jett was riding her bike around, seeing your band all summer, it still clicked in her brain. It's like, you know, I've heard the sound before. There's something I like about this. So when she was able to go back and actually look, it's like, now there's like this intrinsic want to listen to that album because you had yourself that connection point. You had yourself this interesting way to connect with her where, oh, shoot, here we go. Here's the album. Take a listen, see what happens. And a month later, you got it.
But that was it. It wasn't like a calculation like that, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's like we were playing without the concept that she was watching, you know, we were just pushing forward, you know, and sometimes when you push forward and you are prepared, you know, in that way, you're conjuring stuff that you can't look into the future, right? You're conjuring it as you're doing it, and then eventually something comes along and you're at the right place at the right time.
And you're prepared.
And then people say that you're lucky or something. It's like, no. Like, so it just works out that way sometimes when you have to struggle and bust your ass a little.
Yes, it's kind of like marketing at its finest, like social media marketing, really before social media was a gigantic thing as it is today. But it's still for what you guys did, it's calculated, but it's not at the same time. It's calculated where you were continuing to get out there, get your music everywhere as you could, get people to listen to it, and then go up and talk to people about it and try and get them to listen to it as well, to connect with them in that way. That's a calculated move because now you're hitting on everyone and you have the potential to hit on somebody and connect with someone as big as Joan Jett. It's not a calculated move where you're specifically looking for that person, looking for someone of that influence. It just sort of happened, but it wouldn't have happened if you weren't doing it and casting that wide of a net with as big of an audience as you possibly could at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you always have to be ready to go. you know, and always building, always moving forward. Like, I mean, that's just our thing. Like, we call ourselves rock and roll sharks because we got to keep moving, you know.
Never sleep.
Shark stops moving, it dies. So that's always been our philosophy with everything, with touring, with writing, with putting records out. It's like, you just got to keep moving.
I have the same idea too, especially with the podcast, where I go to concerts and shows all the time, and people ask me what I do, and I tell them this is what I do, and then they say, "Oh, it'd be cool if we could check it out." And if I got to pull this out because it's literally on my phone, I'm like, "Hey, go check it out." "Oh yeah, where can we go look it up?" I'll just show them this, and I'm like, "Scan the QR code."
There you go. Yeah.
And then it takes them to everything they need, and it's just like, "Oh shoot, it's easy it's like, okay, now I can continue to move." And then when it comes to that point where now we're having that connection point, now we're having that conversation, hey, I'll check you out. I know that 99% of the time, if I don't pull it out right then and there, you're not going to go and check it out because you're going to forget about it. There's other things in life. But all of a sudden, the simple thing of just pulling my phone and say, scan this. You
should just get a tattoo. Just like... Get like
a good idea.
Like a Superman tattoo.
Just do like a little tattoo.
Just a QR code tattoo. That would be my first tattoo, though.
Chest.
Oh my God. I wonder if that works.
So sure it would work.
We can even get like temporary QR code tattoos. Look at this idea.
Wow, dude.
Okay, the temporary QR tattoo codes would definitely be something I think would be more of my alley.
We'll have them at the merch table.
We don't have any tattoos.
We don't have any.
That makes three of us then.
Yeah, we were about to start, and then we got asked to do this tour with Buzzcocks. And the first day, we were like, God, we really want to know why they picked us. But we were like, oh, we don't want to know. Because what if it was just like the booking agent picked us or something, And then, of course, that night, I just started talking. We were in their dressing room.
We had too much champagne.
We had a little too much champagne with them. And I was like, why did you pick us? And Pete Shelley was like, oh, it's because you've got all the pop sensibilities, but you're not all tatted up. And I was like, oh my God, our no tattoos got us on tour with Buzzcocks.
Yeah, it worked out.
Yeah. So then we just kind of stuck with
it. Unintentional.
Yeah.
Unintentional, but putting yourself in the position to have something like that happen. That is the key. And I do like the idea of like, you have the QR code tattooed like Superman, so you just rip it open and be like, scan this. But what happens when all of a sudden that code expires or something like that?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Or if I have the phones move to a different laser kind of thing.
Yeah. Or if I have it tattooed on my chest, all of a sudden, what happens if the chest hair starts to cover it up and now like the QR code reads differently and now it goes to a competing podcast, or it goes or all of a sudden you scan it and your phone starts ringing and someone's reaching out to you about your car's extended warranty. I mean, I don't need that happening.
No, you don't think of the drawbacks, man. You don't think of the risks. You don't think of the 20 billion permutations.
With a tattoo, I do.
With the universe will like find ways to dissuade you from like accomplishing your goal. You just think of the goal.
See,
you know what I mean?
With a real tattoo, not necessarily, but with a temporary tattoo, I can just put on here and just have it there for the day. Absolutely, now that makes sense.
I'm telling you, we're gonna have them.
I think we're gonna do this.
Yeah, it's gonna be...
Well, because it's kind of something cool. Or all of a sudden, what happens if you scan it and then all of a sudden you go right to your latest music video? You go right to this like a song on Spotify, but literally when it hits, it's not like it hits and they press play, like something that automatically gets it going for them, so you can already start it going. Heck, I had a
What
band...
if it's a secret song? What if it's something that no one else has?
See, so I'll say that something little like that just happened to me today. I was at work, just working, and all of a sudden I got something in the mail. It was from a band that I interviewed 3 years ago, and it was stickers, and they were like, and the back was a QR code. It was like, scan this for like to pre-save it and get a free gift. I'm just like, well, now I want to scan this thing and see what happens from a band that I haven't talked to in over 3 years. Like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm in. Like, I am interested now.
Yeah, that's smart. Intrigue, man. Mystery. There's not enough mystery in the world, right?
I mean, there is a lot of mystery in the world, but there's not enough good mystery in the world.
There you go. I just mean in terms of the way that people put themselves out there, I feel like oversharing is definitely like a thing. And we don't mind oversharing to an extent, but there are some things that it's kind of cool when like rock and roll's mysterious, like to some extent, right?
Back in our day.
Back in my day, I didn't know about the band's personal lives at all. I just would listen, And in fact, sometimes when when you find out about a band's personal life, you like them less.
Yeah, you kind of wish you didn't know.
Yeah, there's some bands that have there's like I found out my personal life. I'm like, it's just not as connected as I once was. But then there's some where I find out their personal lives. Like good example is Tom from the band Patient 67. I found out how much like him and his cat are a thing. Like he has his cat and everything. They had a T-shirt that says "Cats in Metal," and then like a death metal T-shirt with just his cat on it. And I'm like, okay, now I'm into this too. But it's when it comes to the mystery, it's that positive intrigue that's there, and how are you going to create that intrigue? Because if you just do the same thing where it's like, oh, it's a teaser video for a brand new song. Okay, everyone does that. So what else there? But if there's something wacky and random where all of a sudden I'm stopped at a red light, and over a billboard it has your logo on it and just a big giant QR code. It says, like scan this for a good time. I'm looking at that thinking,
yeah, there you go.
That is really wacky, but
let's go.
Oh, this is a good time.
Yeah. And then it's just our chickens running around.
Yeah, it's just a video of chickens in the yard.
It's like your brand new song, but just a video of your chickens running around. Honestly, I would watch that the whole entire way.
That's actually a really good idea.
Not a bad plan.
Why don't we just do that for a music video? It would be just as good as a high production value, whatever. Like, you ever do that? You ever like make like a high production value thing, and then you do like something that's super like homemade and just cheap, and the one that's super cheap and homemade is the one everyone loves. And the one you put a lot of effort into, it's like, it's like, all right.
Well, that was good, but man.
I'll say I try and put as much effort as I can into things, but I know exactly what you're talking about because it was the first live podcast episode I ever did because I had 10 minutes to prepare for it and I couldn't bring any of my stuff with me. So my friend recorded it on her phone while I was in the basement of Beat Kitchen in Chicago talking with the band Voice of Bacchaprot, and it was like an 8-minute long video. Not that long, but then when I listen to it back, I'm like, the video looks good, but the audio is just, oof. Like, it's a lot of echo behind it, and I spent like 6 hours just captioning an 8-minute video, making sure I got everything right. Put it out online. I'm like, I just hope this does well. It had 20,000 views in 18 hours. I was like, that.
Yeah, you never know, man. You never know. I mean, it's just whatever is like a lot of times, like when it's super honest like that, people really love honesty. Yeah. And people can see things that aren't honest. So it's like, it's one of these things. It's like, yeah, we try to be honest with what we put out there for sure. It's important.
Well, I think that's one thing that's definitely helped out both of you and the band overall as well. Because when you think about the internet, it's, we're going to get 3 different pieces. We're going to get just that kind of like raw, but honest. Or we're going to get stuff that's very high production, that looks crisp, looks clean. Or we're going to get a lot of random content there that just is overly done or fake or just trying to, the purpose behind it is just trying to grab likes, comments, followers. Like all the TikTok videos that are just like, and you won't believe what happened or what we found out amazing. Subscribe for part 2. It's like, no, I don't want any of that.
Part 2 thing, part 3. I actually sat through to a part 3 yesterday and I was like, I can't believe I just did that. I was so upset with myself. I wasted like
time and brain cells. Yeah, dude.
And it was so stupid. But I've never really tried that before.
But now if I see a big giant billboard for the Dollyrots with a big giant QR code that says "Scan for a good time," and I get a music video of a brand new song from you, and the whole entire music video is just you and your family just playing with the chickens in the yard, like. I'm kind of into that and just see what the hell the chickens are going to do. Just, are they going to jump on top of the kids? Are they going to jump on top of each other? Are they just going to run around like a madman just going crazy? Is one going to try and fly? Is one going to try and attack a neighbor? I'm kind of into this.
All those things happen.
Yeah.
Dude, the rooster will run after you, try and get you. But when we say we're going to do something, usually we end up doing it. So, sounds like a good plan. Yeah. This is like we're having a brainstorming session, creative brainstorming.
I like your ideas.
Yeah, you have good ideas.
See, I love this kind of stuff too because we get to know more about you guys. We get to know more about the concept behind your music, how you think, the way you process, and then we come up with some wacky, crazy ideas, and then we'll see if they get put into place. We see if they don't. I really don't care. I just love to see if this stuff's gonna happen because you never know where some of these ideas might just absolutely take off because. If you're like you said, you're taking some of these absolute calculated risks that are high risk, high reward. And through that, you've gotten to this point where you are in life and are continuing to grow as a band, as people, as a couple, as a family, all the way through this. So why not keep going in on that and keep doubling down on that because it's worked out so well for you so far?
Yeah, you got nothing to lose, really. I mean, in terms of like creative ideas, in terms of like life choices, then sure, maybe it's like a risk. But I feel like doing stuff that scares you or putting stuff out there that maybe is like a little bit embarrassing, like it usually ends
You mean
up
when I'm like, no, don't post that picture of me on the couch.
or like what like creatively, it's like some of the songs that I feel like resonate the most with people, when we initially wrote them, we felt like a little bit like, I don't know, it's not so good, it's a little embarrassing or whatever, but I think people like it, you know. Self-censorship is oftentimes a bad thing. Thinking too much into it.
Overthinking it really does take a lot. And I had a friend that said that when she kind of started really coming to her own and really starting to get out there and just grow as a person, grow with what she was doing with her own thing, it was just going, if there was something that made her feel uncomfortable in terms of, I'm not sure if I really want to do this. If I have an option to do the comfortable thing or the uncomfortable thing, what's she going to do? She decided to always take the uncomfortable thing. She basically went yes man with Jim Carrey, but just with like, okay, I'm not as comfortable doing this versus this, but this still has more upside. I'm going to try this uncomfortable thing. And ever since I've known her and she's had that mindset, just the things that she's been able to do, the way she's been able to continue to grow has just been going and going further and further and continuing on even to this day and beyond. So it's something that even I look at myself, I'm like, even with some of these bands I get to try and interview, I'm like, you know what? It's a kind of a risk and it's kind of uncomfortable to try and reach out to some of these or ask some of these questions. But if I don't do it, then I'm just going to be, in the same spot I always am.
Well,
it's like,
you'll also be bored.
Yeah.
Like there's I hate feeling bored. So I'd rather be scared than bored, there's that. And it's not to say that like, I mean, if you take a risk, if you do something, you just go for it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be thoughtful or you shouldn't be informed or you
prepared.
Shouldn't be a smart person or you shouldn't be like rehearsed or you shouldn't be whatever. I'm just saying like, if you have all that stuff happening anyway, then usually your first instinct is going to be good and you should just go with it, even if it's kind of scary, right?
Yeah, it's, I kind of like you said, like informed, but also kind of put in a way, centered in a way where you know where you stand, you know where you're at, and it's, can I take this risk? Well, I'm not really sure. Do you understand the problems that could come out there if it doesn't go right? Do you understand the positive that could happen if it goes right? What do you want to go with now? Now you have this broader idea of in that second what you can decide. And if you have a good feeling about it, maybe because you're grounded in that, you're centered in that, you have a feeling that it's going to go good. Why not just go with it and see what happens? Because more than likely, if that's the case, it's going to turn out pretty good for you.
Yeah. That's the concept of the gut thing,
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like oftentimes you surprise yourself when you reach, and that's a good thing. Without discomfort, I don't think we grow very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
100% true.
Without this, if it's just comfortable, without that discomfort, where's the incentive to grow? Where's the incentive to change? Where's the incentive
you just kind of
do
hang,
something else?
Which is also okay. But sometimes you want more.
It depends on what you want in life, honestly, and the mindset you have. And I think between the three of us, all three of us are just like, we want more. We want to. There's something we want to go after. We're just going to go after it and get it and see what happens. And this might not work out. Okay, we're still doing it though.
Yeah. I get, sometimes like, especially like younger bands, they'll ask me like, hey, so what do you think, when they're just starting out, it's like, what's your advice for whatever? I'm like, go book your own tours and play as many shows as you can and sleep on some floors and lose some money and just struggle a little bit. And regardless, at the end, you'll come out of it like gaining fans, getting better, being around music, being around the music culture, like becoming more engrossed with music. And it's just like, that's the best, right? But in practice, it's difficult. Like
Very.
Creative pursuits are always difficult. And you're always going to face like people telling you suck. You're going to face like no's from things that you want. But either way, like you're learning from it. You're getting better and you're honing your craft. And in the end, like it's all about meeting as many people as possible and just learning how to be a good person. And hopefully they like your music too.
Make the world a better place.
Make the world a better place.
See, I like that. I'll say, the more you know. But I like the advice that you're bringing up as well, especially for younger bands that are potentially going through something like this. Because if if you don't go, every band's going to have those struggle points. Every band's going to have to do something like that. And if you go through that, you learn stuff about yourself. You learn what's going to work for your band, what's not going to work for your band. You're going to learn if the band members you have are going to work, if it's not going to work, what you actually want your goals and ambitions to be. And if it means playing a lot of shows, booking your own tours, taking that loss early on to try and make something happen, if you think that that's worth it, go for it. Because again, life is going to be a lot better by you trying it and knowing that either it worked or it didn't work than sitting in a nursing home later on in life, always wondering what could have happened. That feeling of regret is going to absolutely destroy you every step of the way. And even though I'm on the younger side, I still will never forget when my grandfather was sick in the hospital in the VA. There was one, I think I was like 12 years old. I was just talking to a bunch of the different veterans there, and a lot of them were talking about the things they wish they did in life. And just seeing the pain in their eyes, it was like, you could tell.
Yeah.
I'm like, you could tell right then there. I'm like, this is something where maybe they played it a different way than they wanted to. Maybe they played it too safe, played it so that they appeased whatever their parents wanted, whatever society wanted at the time. And it's just later on in life, it just didn't resonate with them. And I just never wanted to let that happen to myself. So it stuck with me.
And really, if you talk to a lot of like bands or artists of any kind, actors, people that have found success, and you ask about those early days and like the journey and the struggle, those are always the fondest memories and the biggest time of growth. And just it's when you have the opportunity to really change your life and the person that you're going to become. And I don't think anyone ever regrets it.
No.
I've
Even
never
though
heard
at
anyone
the
say
time,
they
it's
regret
like,
it.
how
can we get through the rest of this week?
Get yourselves through this, And it's like, because I have a passion for doing something that maybe isn't comfortable. I don't know. Like maybe it's like maybe it's just like
just masochist.
It's just a form of self-harm. You gravitate towards. I don't know what it is, man. But it's whatever that ideal is, whatever your ideal is.
I still get the worst stage fright every single night. I'm so sick. I hate it.
My tells I start coughing.
He starts coughing and almost pukes like every night.
Yeah, people that like
I shake.
People that are new to our tour, like if we have like a new crew person or whatever,
they're like, "Is Lewis?"
The very first night they get there, like, why does he sound like he's gonna puke?
And they're like, it's normal.
It's just
every day.
But it's still something you struggle with. Like if that's your thing, everyone has their struggles or whatever. But if you have a goal, then it just becomes like, it just let it roll off.
Yeah.
And
of course, once we start playing, it all goes away. And then you remember why you do it to yourself.
And then it's addictive.
And then the next day you're sick all over again. And then book another tour.
The goal supersedes the struggles of bread sandwiches and water every single meal. But because again, it's you're focused on what you want. You're focused on your passion, focused on the end game of it all. And that's really what stands out. And I mean, it's kind of where you are today, where of course now you got Night Owls out, brand new album, and people are really starting to get a hold of it, get a grasp of it. So now with it out completely, because I do want to talk about the music at some point, what has been the reception you've been seeing off of the release of the new album?
It's been incredible,
dude. I don't know. We traditionally put out a record every couple of years, because you just kind of want to make something new. And then, the world shut down for a couple of years. So that set this one back. It's been 4 years since our last record. That's a long time for us.
The longest.
And we're used to getting generally good reviews, because I feel like we put out solid, melodic, catchy music it's music that we like. So, people generally are pretty cool about it. But this one, for whatever reason, it's like, the words that are being used are like high praise more than normal. And I don't know if something changed with like the songwriting or the production. I can't point at it because we're in the bubble.
Yeah.
But it's like one review was like astounding musical perfection. I was like, dude, I've never even like put those 3 words together, like to describe anything, And so we just feel really lucky that whatever happened, whatever came out, ended up being something that we know our fans like it.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're all
it seems to be reaching more people with always the goal.
Out. Yeah. So we feel really, because dude, we recorded this album in 5 days, in
January.
So it was like we had all the pieces, right? We had come up with all these half-baked songs, like whatever, but we ended up putting it all together and cutting it in literally 5 days up in Minnesota. And so Yeah, it was like
It was a whirlwind.
I didn't even remember what it sounded like.
Yeah, it's
like,
kind of an out of body.
we don't even know the words to half the songs because they were all written like at the last minute.
We did an interview earlier today, and the guy was like, "So in the vow, in that bridge part," and I was like, "Oh God!" And I was like, "Oh, I should Google it." And I was like, "Oh no, it just came out. I can't look up the lyrics because I don't know if they're on the internet yet."
We didn't even know the
and
lyrics.
so I was like, "Oh God!" Like I don't even remember some of it, But
yeah, it's crazy.
See, when I was going through it, I was looking for the lyrics too, just to make sure, like, when it came to getting and understanding the meaning of the songs, I'd make sure I'd got a much clearer image instead of just something crazy that just popped into my head. And this was yesterday, and I couldn't find them. I was like, oh boy, this is gonna be interesting.
They'll be up on the lyric sites soon enough with like all the wrong words and weird places. Those are my favorites.
Yeah, I think they're up on
Bandcamp, right?
I think they're up on Bandcamp. Maybe not. I don't know.
If not, you should do that
eventually
tonight.
Somebody will put them up. You start seeing it come because we have like, you have your Google alert for Dollyrots, right? And so we get I'm starting to see it like happen. It's like, people start posting their tab or the lyrics or whatever. And most of the time it's like a little wrong, but I kind of like that.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's cool to see it start to filter out there because you never know, your chord, it gets mixed, it gets mastered, and then you just have no idea like if it's going to resonate. So I feel like we're in a pretty good spot with it.
I do have a theory on why people might be saying that, Astounding Musical Perfection. But before I give that theory, I have to ask this. 5 days? This took just 5 days?
It took, well, that doesn't include mixing or mastering. What happened was we had 50 half-baked ideas, like verse, chorus, a chorus by itself, a bridge, whatever.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't finish a song for like 2 years,
So in November of last year, we were talking to our producer, John Fields, and we were like, all right, we got to make this new album. When do you have time for us to come up there? And he's like, I have 1 week in January.
And we're like, all right, cool. That gives us four weeks.
Oh, wait, something happened to our sound.
Oh, wait, are we good?
I can still hear you. It's just a little bit rougher. Wait.
Hold on a second.
Hold
there.
Okay.
All right. Can you hear us?
Yeah, we're back.
Man, those dang AirPods.
My AirPods try to take over my devices at all times.
But John said he had 1 week in January. And so we had from like November to that first week in January to be ready.
Yeah. So we ended up, we demo everything at home, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like guitar, bass, vocals, whatever. And then I kind of just program drums. We do the real drums like later on. So had a bunch of like stems, had a bunch of concepts, and we went through and we just started cut pasting like parts of songs together to try to put together cohesive things. And so this record was just like all of those like pieces fit together like a jigsaw puzzle.
But then we're writing lyrics on the airplane on the way there.
We're writing lyrics while we're recording.
Yeah, I'd be recording the first verse of a song and he'd be like scribbling ideas for the second verse. And then the first time I even read them is like when I sang them on the record.
It's like literally that was happening. And the thing is, like, when like this is our 7th album with John, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when somebody that well, like a creative partner, like as a producer, he knows our tendencies and he's fast. He's fast anyway. But
we don't even have to speak. It's just like grunt and point.
It's like when a guitar thing has to be done and he just like points at it. I go get it, bust it out. All right, next part. Okay. Oh, she's got to write something. Oh, it's time for her to sing. She's already on her way to the booth to sing before we even have to say it. So we just like, it really was 5 days. And then we flew home and we were like, what the hell just happened?
And
in a blizzard.
Oh dear God. Yeah. I'm like, I might have to label this episode "How to Make an Album in 5 Days." I mean, of course it took a lot longer than that with all your half-baked ideas.
Preparation.
The preparation took a lot longer, but when it came to recording again, 5 days is just absolutely ridiculous, especially when it comes to the fact that you're writing lyrics on the fly, literally both on the fly while you're flying, on the fly while you're recording this. It's that is intense. And that's something I don't think I've really ever heard of someone or any band really doing that. Maybe, of course, rewriting stuff, but just full on writing those lyrics at that time for almost every song. Like, that is something that is brand new to me.
Yeah, my brain kind of struggled after that week. It needed like a break.
I mean, I just had a notepad going, and then the laptop had all these, like, I just was it was
we were like sharing notes and
But the thing
texting
was,
lyrics.
we knew we only had that time because we had to fly home on day 6, and we had no other opportunity because it was like, we had to get back home. The kids had stuff that they had to do, whatever. We had a tour coming up. And so, you do it and you don't know, but you also don't have the opportunity to revise it. Yeah. It's like whatever's coming out is going to be the final thing. You don't have time to second guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of validity in like first ideas and first takes, because it's like that first inspiration. There have been times in the past where we'll go back, we'll like rewrite a song, or we'll like change things or whatever. And I feel like sometimes the more you change it or the more you try to refine it, the worse and worse it gets. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
you edit all the fun out of it.
Yeah, you edit all the spontaneity and all the that spark, whatever that spark is.
See, I can kind of understand that in a bit, where like my favorite band of all time, my favorite song by them, they were planning on cutting it from the record because they changed something up like towards the end of it, where the singers did not end up like connecting with it anymore at all with what he had written. And they end up recording it anyway. They're like, we'll put it on the record. It was like the second single off that album. And now it's a song where if they don't play that song in concert, everyone is just like,
pissed.
What are you guys doing? Even they played 3 nights in a row in Chicago, and they did different sets every single night, but they ended with that song every single night. And it's just like, no one was mad. Everyone was having a blast. But when it came to, again, absolute music, like musical perfection, when it came to this album, but that reviewer said, my theory behind it is this. When I was listening through it, it has a very upbeat kind of style to it, especially with what you both are working on here. But when it came to just the sounds of it, there were certain little instances of like other bands that I was picking up on in terms of inspiration, in terms of sound, like Green Day, Simple Plan, even the song "I Believe in a Thing Called Love." I even picked up on something from I even picked up something from Fly By Night by Rush, even.
Oh my God.
Some 90s inspirations. And I picked up on this, but it wasn't like it was technically forced to be in there. It sounded like the ideas, the concept, and the emotions that were really wrapped around when we were listening to those songs, when we were listening to those bands, and were put into these songs. It was just the emotion was there and the connectivity was there, but it was all within your own style. So as it flowed, not only were we connecting positively with a lot of these past memories and these past emotions from all these other bands and songs that we have heard, but it was in something that was completely brand new and fresh, and just had, like when we say it took inspiration from, you just took inspiration from the emotion that was created off of that. It wasn't taking inspiration from these exact patterns or these exact sounds. It was just from the pure emotion and how it played into all this positivity that you feel, especially when you listen through this album. That's really where I think it came in, and why people said, absolute music perfection, because you hit on that emotional tendency so well.
Wow. That's awesome.
Dude, thank you
I love that idea.
Picking up on, sometimes we're fans of music, like honestly, like we wouldn't do this if we weren't fans of music, because we understand that. I mean, punk rock changed my life, really.
Yeah.
But like the sometimes you throw in little Easter eggs because you it's like, you can't help it. There are only a certain number of like rock and roll ideas that are out there in the world. And of course you got to filter it through yourself, but I'm so happy that you picked up on, the fact that it is kind of like a distillation of
there's familiarity
what you love about music,
because of what we like.
And then sometimes, you come up with something and you think to yourself, your first thought is like, man, are we kind of ripping that off? Right? I mean, you have to acknowledge to yourself, like, initially you think it's your idea, and then you take a step back,
or like you show me something in my head, I'm like, that sounds kind of like this, and then I say something, and then
like you don't do it on purpose, right? You just kind of, but you have to not be afraid to do that sometimes, because it's okay to wear your like influences on your sleeve.
Rock and roll's been like that from the start.
Yeah, rock and roll's always been about unabashedly, like, you're not stealing, but you're perpetuating that feeling. Like, I think that's okay. Like, it's all right to do that. Like, it's cool. You shouldn't be ashamed of it. Like, people come up to me at shows sometimes and they're like, where'd you get that idea? And I'm like, I realized later on that that's a Rancid song, or like whatever it is, but yeah, you just have to, if you love music, it should give you that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because when bands and artists wear their influence on their sleeves, especially through rock or metal, it's when they wear those influences on their sleeves and they don't directly take copy something, but they take those influences, wear them on their sleeves, and mix everything together. That's when you get your whole different sound, your whole different style. That's where you get rock and roll from the 50s to evolve to the British invasion in the 60s to some more the birth of heavy metal with Black Sabbath. Then you get to the 70s with Led Zeppelin. You get to math rock with Rush.
Totally.
You get to hair metal in the 80s. You get to the punk rock going heavy in the 70s and 80s as well. Grunge, new metal, butt rock, even metalcore going nuts. Like there's so much that goes on there, and there's so much that intertwines. Pop punk even. There's so much that intertwines where you wear your influence on your sleeve and you mix them up because they're your influences with your ideas, and then you create this own new thing. And especially for what you guys wrote, it was the song Irish Goodbye, which really kind of stood out to me specifically because I'm listening through it and I'm like,
this is the first one. Yeah.
I'm picking up on a lot of these like Blink 182 kind of styles and feels in there. But then I'm picking up on these ideas of because personally, I love rock and metal. That's really where I sit in. But I always have this affiliation for Irish music. I always have had it. So bands like Dropkick Murphys and Flogging Molly are definitely up my alley. But Gaelic Storm is another one of those. And I'm like, so they're mixing the emotions of like the Blink-182 song, the flow and everything around there with their own style. But a song called Irish Goodbye, and now you're throwing in some of these different styles and signatures and just ideas that sound like they may have came from like a Gaelic Storm song that gets put in here. I'm like, Blink-182 meets Gaelic Storm meets pop rock in influence. Like, how does this all work out? And it was a song that really brought me a smile to me on this album. This was the one that got me over every other one was Irish.
Oh, that's awesome. It's so funny too.
Yeah, like she Kelly's family, like she's part Irish, and we got to spend a little time over there once because we ended a tour there and had this great idea. We're like, hey, we're gonna rent a car.
Let's just drive around Ireland for 7 days. Take a vacation.
Yeah, you know what it's like to drive on the wrong side of the road in Ireland when you've never done it.
Not good.
Like a manual transmission. And
the thing is, the like stick shift is in the same position. Like the gears are in the same
gas
position.
And your brake are correct, but then this is wrong.
But it's the wrong side.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah, so I ended up hitting a couple side view mirrors. I mean, it was this whole thing. But like we love the feeling of being there and how funny and quirky and sweet and magical that place is.
And how musical the pubs are. And it's just I love it there.
Yeah, Kelly loves it there. We just love that trip. It's just like it's a magical fairyland. But also the hardest rhythm for me to play because there's nothing about me that's Irish.
Yeah, he hates that rhythm, but every album I pretty much make him do
like that offbeat. I mean, it's like ska music is the same way. It has like that offbeat thing. It ain't in me, man. So I had to struggle through that one.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for struggling through it, but it makes me feel if you're struggling through it, darn, I'm gonna hear that one played live. Oh, if not,
no. Well, we probably will. Like we have some songs like that that stand out. Like Get Weird is like that too.
Yeah, Get Weird.
But
Kiss Me Killed Me.
I like it once we're going. I can do it with a drummer. I just can't do it by myself.
Okay.
Like if there's a drummer, then that's fine. I can lock in like
a couple beers and on stage, so you're good.
Like a normal Irish person.
Yeah. But it's got to be Irish beer, though. So it's got to be like Guinness, Killian's, just something like that. It's got to have that flair to it.
Or whiskey.
Yeah.
Just a bottle of Jameson right next to the stage. Like, what is this for?
That's it.
This is for Irish Goodbye. We need this to be ready for that song.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, and then we're going to Irish Goodbye. Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, just like end the song and just literally walk out of the venue with guitars and everything. And all of a sudden it's just, where'd they go? Oh shoot, they really took it to a different level.
That'd be a great closing song.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, maybe we should do that in January. That would be hilarious.
Not a bad idea. Yeah, we're talking about dates for January. We can't help it. We have to book things out so far ahead now that it's like, we're talking about next year already. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
Band talk.
Well, one more question before we wrap this up is when it comes to you guys booking shows. I mean, I know you're trying to book shows for January, book shows for next year. Maybe Irish could buy those shows at the end of the set. My question is not necessarily like exactly where, but like what areas are you looking to tour in with those shows?
So typically, like we end up doing the Midwest in March.
Yeah,
and in some ways we have to now that we're parents, we have to work around the kids like
spring break.
Yeah. So we'll probably be in the Midwest in March, and then we break everything up now. So instead of doing one long US tour, it's like we'll do West Coast all by itself, usually in the summer, because Seattle and Portland are awesome in the middle of the summer. It's beautiful up there.
Yeah.
We just did the Northeast. We do the Northeast like usually in the fall.
Yeah.
But
then we hit Texas. We've been doing Texas in the summer the past few years, and never again.
No, I don't want to be.
So hot.
I don't want to be in Dallas at
108 degrees.
But we do Texas usually by itself, because Texas Texas is always good for it. And then we'll probably head over to England.
And try this year. We do like every other year.
Yep. So we end up hitting pretty much everywhere in the US.
Yeah.
At some
next
point.
week-ish, we're actually in the Southeast too. We're doing Florida up to Nashville.
Atlanta, Nashville, yeah. So it's always like 5 days, 7 days or whatever, fly in, fly out, bang out the shows.
No days off ever.
Yeah, but dude, we end up getting to see everyone at some point, you know.
Well, I mean, my main reason for asking is I know March, Midwest, Circle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can even, that's
be for sure.
Like second or third week in March, we'll be in Wisconsin.
Yeah. We're usually on tour right at St. Patrick's Day.
Around St. Patty's.
Yeah. So.
Oh, then we have to play Irish Goodbye.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to have an Irish beer in my hand watching you guys play and enjoying every step of the way.
And then we'll have a shot of Jameson after the set. It'll be perfect.
Oh boy, then you're going to love how I wrap this bad boy up. So as we bring this podcast conclusion, one thing I like to do is give my guests, which is both of you in this instance, a chance to whatever you want to say, plug for to plug, promote everyone to promote. So the floor is yours.
Jameson whiskey.
Go see go listen to our new record. It's everywhere. You can honestly listen to it from front to back. He
spent a long time sequencing.
Oh yeah, sequence has to be perfect, man. There's this whole alchemy to the sequence. But yeah, we like to make albums that are album experiences, you know, where you can turn it on and just let it play from front to back and not get bored.
Even the A side, B side is
feel good. Yeah.
But yeah, we have a lyric video coming out for every song on the album. So if you go to our YouTube page, we'll be posting about one a week.
Yep.
Until they're all out.
We're all over every social media thing. It's like the Dollyrots, or if you just look up Dollyrots, it's like a
easy to Google.
Word. So we're Googleable. It'll all good. And Kelly has a radio show on Sirius XM.
I'm on channel 21 Underground Garage 5 days a week every morning, and then I'm also on 721, which is the Little Steven's coolest songs in the world, like 24/7.
The sister station.
So, but yeah, it's a great station. It's rock and roll from like the 50s through the Dollyrots.
And we got we're parents. We tour with our kids. Our kids come up on stage at the
it's like a full vaudeville act.
Yeah, they got a vaudeville act in the middle of the set.
There's yo-yoing jokes.
Yeah. Our daughter gets on the drums. They're little, so it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And come out to a show. See us coming through.
We hang out after the shows.
Yeah,
until the venue kicks us out.
We'll come say hi and be ridiculous together.
That's a perfect way to wrap this up. So now I got to top that by wrapping up with three things. First things first, the Dollyrots brand new album Night Owls is out now. Finding them online, they are very easy to Google. They are Googleable. But I'm going to make it even easier on you and go personal Google on this one. So when you want to find them on anywhere, YouTube, social media, where you can get some merch, where you can see them play live, where you can listen to music, go to description of the podcast or just find the Dollyrots online. Links and labels for literally everything are there. I'm your own personal Google. There you go.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, dude.
You're welcome. And now it's time for number 2. And when you brought up, after Irish Goodbye, after you come with Midwest in March, shot at Jameson, this is where I'm taking this. Whenever gets to the podcast that I enjoy having on the podcast, I tend to make a certain promise way to say thank you for being in the podcast, and I want to make sure I support the band continually in the future. You both hit on this, so this is my promise to you. When I get to see you perform live for the first time, of course, we're not going to Irish Goodbye it, but I will meet you at the bar for that shot of Jameson. And that first round, it's on me.
Awesome.
We're perfect.
In. Yeah.
As long as it's not Malort.
That's an easy way to get us to hang out.
It will not be Malort. I'm from Milwaukee, not Chicago.
No. Please not.
Every time we're in Chicago.
Not again.
Every time.
Never again.
No, we're not doing that. We're gonna go Jameson on this one because again, Irish Goodbye in March. Come on, it just fits.
Perfect.
And now it's time for number 3. As I bring this podcast to conclusion with the both of you, cannot say goodbye for a number of reasons. 1, this is a lot of fun. I enjoyed talking with you both. I'd love to be back on the podcast again in the future. 2, I'm making good on that promise. We'll see you play live, and that first round of Jameson is on me. So this is not goodbye, my friends. This is, I'll see you later.
See you later.
Dudes.
Well, folks, an interview with Kelly and Lewis from the band, the Dollyrots. Now it's time for Kevin's final thoughts. So the big thing we kind of can take from this one is take a look at what they had talked about when it came to the risks that they had taken with their music. Yeah, moving out to LA when you do not have much money. Going out on Warped Tour and trying to do what they can, self-producing that one album, self-financing it, and do what they can to get as many people to listen to it, which ended up allowing them the chance to give their album to Joan Jett and get on like Blackheart Records. Like, how cool is that? But it's all about not necessarily taking those risks, but it's putting yourself in a position to have those great things happen. Yes, it can be risky. Yes, it can be terrifying. But if you're grounded and centered and you understand not only the upsides to that risk, but the downsides as well. And I want to stress not necessarily being afraid of the downsides, but understanding those downsides, because life is not perfect. Life is not going to hand you everything in a silver platter. But by taking those risks and putting yourself potentially in a comfortable situation for what you want to go after, it essentially forces you to succeed, because now you have an incentive more to succeed than you did beforehand. If you're playing it safe and you have the ability to fall back on something, when things aren't going as well, you have a comfort blanket to kind of go back to. Of course, it all depends upon how your risk aversion is. Are you risky? Are you more risk averse? Where do you lie on the spectrum? I mean, myself, I'm creative. I'm doing podcasts. I've done over 450 of these episodes and still going. I still have to work a full-time job to support this stuff, but maybe I'm not being risky enough with it. So even I'm thinking about that as well. It's an eye-opener of an episode, really, when you think about it. And I'm glad I had this conversation with them, because you see what's happened where they took it and ran with it. I mean, they're married. They have kids. They're a family. They have to support them as well, continuing on. And they're still making it happen. They make it work because it's for their passion, for the love of it. And man, I resonate with that wholly. So thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Luke. When it comes to find the Dollyrots online, when it comes to listening to Night Owls, when it comes to find them in a live show, go script to the podcast. We are your own personal Google for this, where it says find the Dollyrots online. The links, labels for everything down there for them. So go and check it out. Also, be sure to check out us on social media at the Chord Progression Podcast. I know I messed that up. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, links below, as well as hit that subscribe button right down here. New episodes every single Tuesday and Thursday, and a fun Friday reaction video for you. On top of that, if you're on Spotify, Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or Amazon, hit that follow button, that subscribe button. The episodes that come out every Tuesday and Thursday are coming your way no matter what. And hit that like button on the episode as well, right down here or wherever it is in the audio side of things. Help push the algorithm, help us get to more people to know about great rock and metal music. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Lewis. That's it, you guys. Thank you for watching, listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I am every single way. So big, healthy, and hearty. See ya!